All right, welcome to the Ashland Board of Select Room. It is 8:33, and this is a planning board meeting to discuss the continuation of 466 Chestnut. All right. Where would we like to start here, Nat?
So I think the intent tonight is for us to open with Attorney Mead reviewing what we have in regard to our conditions. You have draft conditions in your binders. Attorney Mead and the applicant's team have worked hard to pull these together, and so we can review them one by one and take it from there.
Okay. Any questions from the board before jumping into review of the conditions?
So I think that Nat provided to you a draft of the conditions, and keep in mind that this is a draft. Obviously, the board needs to give us all their input and let us know. The first, the findings and decision, it just is the title to the document. The procedural history goes through the fact of what the application is, and what the plan set is called, so that we can identify it moving throughout the decision. And that the number 3 is that the public hearing opened on July 23rd, and then I have the continuation of the dates. We'll get through that. And then number 4 is a list of everything that's been presented to the board, so that we know the basis for the board's decisions. And the plan set that will ultimately control the development. And then number 5 and 6 discuss who represented the applicant and who worked with the town. And then the findings really start to become the meat of the matter. Again, the first finding is describing where the property is located. That's pretty self-evident. Number 2 is what the applicant is proposing. And basically, this finding aligns with the requirement in the special permit criteria. So 93 detached A's restricted residential condominium units. And then it says no dwelling unit shall contain more than 2 bedrooms. And it's to be developed in the condominium form of ownership. Number 3, again, mirrors some of the requirements of the bylaw, in that there will be a private way serving the development, there will be entry and exit off of Chestnut Street, and an emergency egress only onto Elliott Street. And then it discusses that Lantern Way and other private ways in the development are laid out with suitable grade, width, layout, and drainage acceptable to the planning board to access for the purposes of the condominium units. And then the section B portion of the decision starts to go through the special permit criteria. The first part is just listing what the actual criteria are. So this is a special permit, so you get the general special permit criteria that has to be applied, which is the first group of criteria that is listed. And then when you get into specific findings, it actually goes into the findings that are required as part of the bylaw. So the first specific finding is that, in fact, it's a development of individuals 55 years of age or older, and this repeats the language in the bylaw: no more than one additional occupant who shall be under 55 years of age unless otherwise qualifying for handicap adult as provided within the bylaw. And then findings A through F are those that are set out in section 7.2.5 of the bylaw. A, that the application and supporting plans comport with the subdivision regulations, except those which the planning board has determined A, are not applicable, or B, for which waivers have been granted. So you're going to need to discuss this, but the waivers are listed on Exhibit A, and the applicant has presented those requests for waivers as they have gone through the application. So we can either go through those now, or we can wait till we get towards Exhibit A.
Wait till A. Yep.
Okay. The land upon which the development is to be constructed is reasonably protected from excessive noise, traffic, air pollution, and other harmful physical influences. Is a finding that you need to make. The application meets the criteria for site plan review. That's required in the bylaw. The land upon which the development is to be constructed is of sufficient size, shape, topography, and location to be capable of accommodating the development. F is the applicant is or will be the owner of the parcels to be included within the land upon which the development is to be constructed and is established to the satisfaction of the board that it has the knowledge, experience, and financial resource sufficient to construct and complete the development. Number 2, this starts to go through the specific findings of the special permit criteria, and I think that it's important for the board to look at these because what I have listed before the colon is the actual criteria, and then I drafted, essentially based upon the board's comments and the presentation made, how the applicant has addressed that criteria. And so if the board feels differently or wants to add something to this, I think these are important discussion points. So the first is that the community needs are served by the proposal. And what I've added here is the proposal will provide for an additional need of senior housing in the town of Ashland. Additionally, given the location of the project, there will be open space preserved, which is contiguous with the area known as Warren Woods, so-called, and as such will enhance already existing open space in the town. Finally, the applicant will be providing, as more specifically set forth in the conditions below, certain open space parcels and the existing structure to the town of Ashland Conservation Commission while retaining the obligation to maintain and repair any drainage facilities located thereon. So I don't know if the board has anything else they want to talk about relative to the community needs being served by the proposal. Okay. Traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. The proposed development meets all of the requirements for parking and loading as required in the bylaw. Further, the Town of Ashland Fire Department has approved the proposed development insofar as fire safety and access are concerned. Special consideration is provided in the conditions to assure no vehicular access out of the proposed development onto Elliott Street, and appropriate limitations on landscaping have been employed to assure adequate sight lines out of the Chestnut Street entrance. Anything else on that? Okay. 4 is adequacy of utilities and other public services. The proposed development is served by public water and sewer, and the applicant has presented information sufficient to show that said utilities are appropriate for the site and area and are of sufficient capacity. Water usage, rubbish collection, utilization of the school system, and involvement of the Department of Public Works and other municipal services will be substantially less than would result from a subdivision of single-family homes of comparable size. All right, neighborhood character and social structure. The proposed use and development of detached dwellings is appropriate for the general neighborhood in which it is located. The architectural design is in keeping with the area and appropriate for the neighborhood. Providing additional age-restricted housing will assist in allowing a natural transition for Ashland residents from larger single-family homes to smaller residences and will assist in keeping these residences part of the Ashland community. Okay. Number 6, impacts on the natural environment. The proposal will encourage the preservation of open space and the promotion of more efficient use of land in harmony with natural features, a more creative approach to land development, conservation of natural resources, and scenic qualities, diversity and variety in the development pattern of the community, better design and land planning resulting in efficient street, utility, and service provision. Approximately 25% of the gross land area will be covered by buildings, roads, parking areas, or impervious surfaces. Okay. 7, potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment. Given the nature of the proposed development as a condominium association, the town will not have responsibility for the maintenance and care of the roadways or infrastructure. Additionally, all trash pickup, snow plowing, and maintenance of landscape features will be handled privately. Given the age restriction, there will be few, if any, children from the proposed development in the Ashland Public Schools. As a result of the foregoing, there is likely to be a positive impact on the tax base with little negative impact. So then you make the decision, which will begin to include your conditions. So in view of the findings that we just went through, the planning board hereby decides that the aforesaid property is a proper parcel to be developed under section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw, in that it meets all of the requisite criteria. It is therefore decided to grant a special permit for the development of a senior residential community in accordance with the terms and conditions below. So then we list the specific allowance of the development. The maximum number of dwelling units to be constructed under the special permit shall be 93, with one community and common building. The tract of land on which the structures are to be located should not be altered or used except as granted by this special permit, as shown on the development plans referenced above, and in accordance with subsequent approved plans or amendments to the special permit. C, the entire tract of land and buildings will be constructed shall not be used, sold, transferred, or leased except in conformity with the special permit. If the applicant petitions for amendments to this special permit, it must submit all plans and information to the changes as required by applicable rules. D, all construction shall conform to those specifications set forth in the development plans. Number 2, the common land, not including open space parcels OSA1, OSA2, and OSD, as identified on plan sheet C2, entitled Overall Site Plan of the Development, remaining after the construction of the dwelling and community common buildings, shall be subject to the following conditions and restrictions. So if you go, I think it's important to see so you can see what this is. If you go to page C2 of your plans, so are they all highlighted in yellow like this? That's great.
Yep.
So what this condition refers to is everything that's not in the yellow highlights. So this is all of the common, and for the viewing public. So this is all of the common area that's not, quote, the open space that's going to be turned over to the community. It shall all be owned by a corporation, trust, or other legal entity comprising the association of unit owners, whose membership shall include all owners of the dwelling units in the development. Other than as specifically set forth herein, it shall be restricted to recreational, agricultural, conservation, or park purposes. It will be open to such use to at least the owners and occupants of the units which dwellings are designed to serve. It will be used to access and maintain the drainage system and to the path connecting open space OSA2, shown as the trail to Warren Woods, to Elliott Street, as shown on the development plans, to maintain the emergency access to Elliott Street, to access and maintain all utilities located in the common areas. It is restricted so that no structure shall be created thereon except as an incident to the above uses. And the condominium association may make such reasonable restrictions upon the use of the common land as are necessary to the protection of the permitted uses. Number 3, open space parcels OSA2 and OSD. So OSD is the one to the right over on the Elliott Street side, and OSA2 is the one on the corner of Chestnut and Elliott Street. Shall be deeded to the Town of Ashland Conservation Commission on or before the conveyance of the first dwelling unit to a unit owner. Said deed shall include a reservation of easements to the applicant and its successors and assigns. 1, a temporary construction easement over such open space for activities to the construction and terminating upon the expiration of the construction, and the second, to provide for the ongoing maintenance and repair of the drainage systems located thereon, both in a form acceptable to the town. Does anybody have any questions about that at all? So then there's the other parcel that's OSA1, which is where the 4-H building and outbuilding is located. The existing residential structure parcel, OSA1, shall be deeded to the Town of Ashland blank, within 30 days of the applicant's recording the deed evidencing applicant's acquisition of a fee simple title to the property. And that's blank right now. We're waiting to hear, I think, from the Board of Selectmen about their desire on that note. The board has another meeting, this board has another meeting next week, and I'm not sure where it's gonna go from there. Or this board could just decide what to do, but that's why there's a blank there, because we don't have, I haven't got direction from the Board of Selectmen, and I don't know what this board wants to do, so you can think about that. Number 5, the condominium association trust instrument shall contain the following articles. A, the construction and operation of the condominium is governed by a special permit issued by the Ashland Planning Board on blank, a copy of which is available for inspection in the town clerk's office and town hall. The condominium association shall annually clear any overgrown vegetation along the development entrance at Chestnut Street, and in particular, in the immediate vicinity of the driveway in order to provide sight lines on Chestnut Street. No signage may be erected that might impede the ability for drivers to see oncoming vehicles along Chestnut Street. The board had a long conversation about that last week, and I think that that'll address that. So we'll have it both in the decision, obviously, and then it'll also be in the condominium documents. 6, any and all plans which may be approved by the Conservation Commission pursuant to an order of conditions shall be made a part of this special permit. If there is any inconsistency between the approved special permit as drawn on the development plans, as most recently revised as of the date of this decision, and the plans as may be approved by the Conservation Commission, the applicant shall submit an amended plan to the Planning Board for approval. Said amended plan shall be accompanied by a letter setting forth any and all changes from the approved development plans. 7, all lighting on the property shall be in accordance with the development plans and the lighting photometric plan as submitted on September 17th, 2015. 8, construction of the development infrastructure and the dwelling units shall proceed in 4 phases in accordance with the phasing plan shown as sheet C3 of the development plans. During phase 1 of the construction, the applicant shall be required to rough cut the emergency access onto Elliott Street and use same for construction vehicles. During construction, there shall be no left turns out of the emergency entrance construction entrance onto Elliott Street. 9, the applicant shall remove the 24-inch white pine indicated to remain on-site entrance drawing C11 Scenic Road Alteration Plan dated September 17, 2015 to the south of the proposed entrance drive on Chestnut Street so as to enhance sightlines coming out of the property.
That was the tree we discussed?
That's the tree you discussed. 10, in consideration of the waivers noted below for a reduction in the amount of sidewalks to be constructed, the applicant shall pay to the town blank, we're going to talk about that now, to be placed in the Complete Streets Fund for the town of Ashland. Such payments to be made in accordance with the following payment schedule. So what they've done here is broken down essentially the total amount of payments they're willing to give to the town. But the thing that's outstanding is the decision by the planning board about whether or not you want sidewalks from the clubhouse to Chestnut Street, and if so, how far, or if not. And I think at the last meeting, there was some discussion about bringing them partway there or bringing them out onto Chestnut Street. And if you look back at C2 again, you'll see they show the sidewalk comes out to Chestnut Street. And so I think that the board just needs to decide whether you want them to go out there or not.
Want to go through them first and then circle back to it?
Sure.
Yep.
Number 11, prior to any land disturbance or the issuance of the first building permit, whichever first occurs, the applicant shall provide A, an operation and maintenance plan to the planning board for their approval on or before any land disturbance occurs, setting forth the estimated number of trucks hauling material in or out of the site, the proposed route and time of delivery of said materials. Said operation and maintenance plan shall include the frequency of sweeping of the public streets surrounding the property. Based on the variation in demand for and supply of the materials, the estimated number of trucks and routes may change from time to time. Applicant shall provide any necessary modifications to the O&M plan to the board prior to the commencement of each phase, subsequent phase of construction or more frequently if necessary. B, a phasing plan for construction and a staging plan storage of equipment. No equipment may be stored within 100 feet of the public right-of-way. 12, the community common building shall be commenced as part of Phase 1 and completed during Phase 2. 13, a no-through traffic sign shall be placed at the intersection of the ways known as Fern Crossing and Old Stone Lane as shown on the plan. We had that discussion a couple of meetings ago. 14, the proposed signage for the proposed development is presented to the board and shown on and described in the supplemental landscape and architectural information package updated September 17, 2015, shall be installed. Street numbering for the dwelling unit shall conform to the street numbering plan, which was approved by the fire department. 15, the applicant shall be responsible for keeping the drainage system in a clean and well-functioning condition and shall do nothing which would alter the drainage patterns or characteristics as indicated on the plans approved by the planning board. 16, garbage and domestic trash shall be collected weekly by a private contractor at the expense of the condominium association. Until such weekly collection, unit owners shall store garbage and domestic trash in appropriate receptacles of rodent-proof material and locate such receptacles properly. The town of Ashland shall not be responsible for the collection of any solid waste, including garbage from the development. 17, all improvements to be constructed within development, including but not limited to rights-of-way, sidewalks, driveways, walkways, parking areas, and all dwelling unit common area utility services shall remain private and shall be maintained during and after completion of the construction by the applicant and subsequently by the condominium association. The applicant and the condominium association shall be responsible for all snow plowing, lighting, landscape, and roadway maintenance, trash removal and maintenance and repair of all other common elements and facilities serving the residents of the development. The town of Ashland shall not be responsible to maintain, service, or repair any such areas, and the ways are constructed shall not be accepted as public ways by the town of Ashland. 18, a duly authorized agent of the town shall have the right to enter upon the common areas of the condominium to ensure continued compliance with the terms and conditions of this special permit. 19, the provision of the condominium documents shall provide that the terms and conditions of this special permit shall be enforced by the trustees of the condominium association to the extent necessary to comply, including, if necessary, any proceedings at law or in equity against any person or persons violating or attempting to violate any such condition or restriction, either in restrain the violation or to recover damages. If the trustees fail to enforce said conditions and/or restrictions, any unit owner or the town of Ashland may bring a proceeding at law or in equity against any person or persons or the trust in violation thereof to enforce compliance with said conditions and/or restrictions. The trust instrument shall contain an article with the foregoing language therein. 20, no occupancy permit for any dwelling unit shall be issued until an instrument has been signed by the planning board by and through its agent, the town planner, indicating that the following items of the special permit have been satisfied. A, approval of final form of all legal documents by the planning board. B, compliance with the Board of Health requirements, including review and approval of any underground irrigation systems from a private well or wells installed upon the property to duly issued permits from the Board of Health. C, approval of final form of any and all deeds and/or easements noted herein. D, that there shall have been established a corporation, trust, or other legal entity comprising the association of unit owners, providing the beneficial owners in such association shall own all of the common areas, facilities in the development, including all open space not conveyed to the town of Ashland, and shall have the responsibility to maintain same and to perform those services required to be performed to serve the residents of the development. A copy of such document as creates such entity and evidencing the required assumptions of responsibilities with regard to the common areas and facilities and otherwise as required by the special permit shall be recorded with the Middlesex Registry of Deeds. 21, the board has approved all waivers as set forth on Exhibit A, attached hereto and incorporated herein. 22, conditions of approval of all permits issued by other boards or agencies of the town of Ashland shall be considered conditions of approval under this special permit. In the event that said permits contain conditions conflicting with the conditions hereof, the planning board reserves the right to amend the conditions of this special permit after hearing so as to render it consistent. 23, the applicant shall record the special permit at the Middlesex Registry of Deeds, and a copy of the recorded decision shall be presented to the building commissioner upon application for a building permit. 24, the developer shall adhere to proper notification procedures for construction. Said procedures shall require a minimum 48 hours notice in writing for inspection services. All water and sewer facilities shall be constructed under the supervision and accordance with the requirements of the DPW to ensure that the proposed utilities will be installed in accordance with all applicable federal, state, and local standards of construction and the development plans. All design and construction of water and sewer utilities must meet all applicable federal, state, and local standards of construction. Contractors are prohibited from operating or connecting to any part of the public water or sewer system without written authorization or field oversight by the respective department charged with such utility. 26, the development shall be constructed and maintained so as to provide access to and within the development for municipal and/or private emergency response vehicles. The restricted emergency access drive and breakaway chain employed at the development designed to temper unnecessary intrusion of traffic not generated by residents of the development or the guests shall be implemented in a manner so as not to impede such required emergency response access, and shall be approved prior to final installation by the fire department. One hard copy of this and one PDF copy of preliminary as-built stamped plans stamped by a professional engineer showing the construction, renovation, or expansion and all utility connections shall be submitted to the Community Development Office at the completion of each phase of the project. After the completion of the entire project, a final as-built plan shall be submitted, which shall contain a certification made by a registered architect or civil engineer that what was constructed is consistent with the approved development plans and conditions set forth by the planning board as part of the special permit. 28, this approval shall lapse if a substantial use thereof or construction thereunder has not begun for good cause within 24 months following the filing of the special permit approval with the town clerk, or if appeal has been filed with the town clerk within 24 months of the determination of the appeal. 28, this decision may be appealed in accordance with Chapter 40A, Section 17, for a period of 20 days from the filing of the decision with the town clerk. And then I have a space for the record vote. And then I list the waivers that are requested.
These are the waivers.
So the waivers are,
To read through them all, just, what were they?
well, there's a number of them, and they mostly go to the subdivision regulations.
Okay.
Off-street overflow guest parking, mandating each home provides 2 garage spaces, 1 driveway space.
The one I specifically am asking about is there discussion, was there a waiver about the streets? To what thickness they'd be constructed?
It's right there.
Is it in there?
Right there, yeah.
Okay, yep, okay, perfect. Okay.
You got it in there.
The 2.5 binder, 1-inch finish. Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to go back to the sidewalks?
So yeah, I think we'll let Nat say a couple
Oh, sure.
comments first,
Yeah.
and then I don't know if anybody else was circling them as we went along. I had a couple of them that I wanted to actually talk to a little further.
So Mike and I touched base about a couple items earlier, and the Green Company is a fantastic company, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I don't think we're going to have an issue vis-a-vis any of what I'm bringing up. But the reason why I am going to bring it up is because among other developments that we have in town now, and now that Karen's on board here, we're just beginning to get in front of a couple of some important issues. And you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about, and it could be, in fact, that the conditions already incorporate this, but it's important that we bring it to the fore. You know, safe storage of construction vehicles, and we all have a particular development in mind. Fences around construction sites, you know, protection of construction sites from the residents that surround that site. Warning given to community residents about upcoming construction, you know, noise and dust. Again, these are things that we're dealing with elsewhere, so let's keep these in mind as we move forward. Hours of construction, construction signage, and in some cases we've had trees taken down in other developments that weren't supposed to be taken down. So just keep in mind the issues that we're facing with other developments as they proceed, and let's, you know, keep them in mind as we go through here. And again, they could already be incorporated in the conditions that are here.
All right. Thank you, Nat. So, does anybody, I guess I'll turn it over to the other board members, prior to number 10, or we can jump right to number 10 and start the discussion there and go
Which one is that?
sooner. Condition, well, number 10 was the sidewalk discussion. So,
Do we want to get all the short, easy things done first and then jump into that, or do you want?
all right, I mean, I was going to take them in order, but if you, yeah, we can go one by one first, if you'd like.
I just have a nitpick on 16.
Okay.
Garbage and domestic trash, I would like to specifically include recycling. I know the general assumption is that recycling is included in that, but it should be stated,
I'll call it up, sure.
so.
Okay.
That's all. That was easy.
I wouldn't call that nitpick.
John, did you have any?
I think you're gonna probably pick these up also, I'll keep them just high level.
Yep.
So, I've got 1, 2, I guess it's gonna be related to the mitigation. So the 4-H house, that's gonna be something we probably hit. I've got one idea around a path, and where that path goes in front of that house and where that goes on the other side, so potential use for that mitigation, which we can come into in a second. And the last one I have is same thing, mitigation funds, purpose and scope, so everything else was covered.
Right. Vanessa, did you have any that jumped out immediately?
No, my things are mostly with 10.
10. Okay. So a couple of the quick ones. I'll skip 4 for now. I would like to talk on 4 in more detail. But if we go to 5, where it says the condominium association shall annually clear any overgrown vegetation, is I guess I'd like to strike the word annually. And
Clear as necessary?
yeah, clear whenever it's needed. I don't think
So it
vegetation.
should clear as necessary or at least annually? Because the
Yeah.
question is who says what's necessary, right? So
Yeah.
you could say clear as necessary, but at least annually.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I mean, the purpose is to maintain a line of sight.
Yep.
So anytime we feel that the line of sight is being jeopardized, we should be able to request it to be cleared.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah. It's a good question. I guess, and I was asking if it would be the planning board that would enforce that stipulation. Would that be our?
Well, you could, if you,
jurisdiction,
well,
or would it just be the
ultimately,
town's?
no, it's actually the building inspector who
Okay.
enforces decisions, right? So, but you have a right, the way we've drafted this is that, A, this has to be included in the condominium association documents, and so they're supposed to enforce it upon themselves. And if they don't do it, the unit owners can have them enforce it, and if they don't do it, the town can do it. So we've got a couple of layers.
Okay, perfect. For number 9, another easy one, but on the actual plan, it says the 24-inch white pine is labeled as existing tree to remain. So we would just want to strike the language from the design.
Yeah, so that, yeah, that needs to be removed.
Skip 10 for now. I do have questions. For number 11, the operation and maintenance plan, and I think, actually, Nat, you started to touch upon it. Does that cover those conditions that Nat said, or can we call them out specifically? And there's a
Yes.
specific development of mine, right? But I think it's important to maintain certain air quality and construction times and safety standards that we probably haven't upheld.
Right, so 11 would be the place for it to be. And
Okay.
right now, we talk about the O&M plan relative to hauling the materials in and out of the site and cleaning the street, right? And then we also talk about not allowing construction vehicles and whatnot within 100 feet of the public right-of-way. So the question I have for the board is, and maybe we can get the applicant to participate in this here, is the town has standard hours of construction, 7 to 5. What's your construction schedule going to be? 7 to 5, 7 to 4?
I think we're okay with 7 to 7.
7 to 7?
Even during summer, when daylight may be longer, 7 to 7 would be the.
All right, so we can set
You guys comfortable
the
with that?
construction schedule out in here, 7 to 7, right? And,
And no Sunday.
no Sundays. And then the next thing that Nat had pointed out was, this is a pretty big site to like put a fence all the way around, right? So, but notice to the neighbors of when they're gonna commence construction, perhaps, or at least put on the town website, or they give you a notice that you can put on the town website or something. I don't know how you wanna do that, but that was a comment that Nat just brought up, so.
It's an issue that we've been struggling with other developments, and that's why I brought it to the fore tonight.
I think there's also a big concern about not neighbors outside this development, but once you're into the situation where some people are already living here and other parts of it are still being built. I think that's where there's a big concern.
The residents that go in, buy into the first phase?
Phase
Yes, the first people to move in,
Ought
how
to
they're
know that
impacted by the
they're-
remainder of the construction.
Right, so you can say that you could require the, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that is an issue we deal with on every community we create, so.
I'm sorry, you
Use
can't
the
be heard
mic,
from
please.
people at home.
So that is an issue we deal with in every community. And so the folks who buy early understand that they are buying at a stage when there's other stuff being constructed around them. And that's actually the reason we have that road going out to Elliott Street. So it allows us to run some traffic in from the backside as people start to live on the side where the entry is going to be created as part of Phase 1. So it's definitely an issue that we always face it, we always deal with it, we always try to keep people well informed, but when they're buying, we will be very clear to them that, look, you understand there's going to be construction for X number of years, and this is how the plan works. We go through all that, so we don't tend to have that problem with the folks that live there.
So so if that's the case, then you could put a condition in here that says that the developer shall provide notice to its new residents of the ongoing development and construction in the subsequent phases of the project.
That's fine, we do it
Yeah,
regularly.
I think.
Use co-urbanize. Just keep it simple.
Co-urbanize?
Yeah, I just feel like people are gonna complain about that. Just put it in co-urbanize if they use that, because they're paying for it anyways. Initially, the co-urbanize to follow this project up to this point.
Do we end up, once you pay for co-urbanized once, it
Should be
just
done.
stays
It's a
alive
one-time.
forever?
It stays alive,
Yeah.
Okay.
so
It's
we can
simple.
post it all up on there.
So what, I'm curious what you're thinking gets posted, that Phase 2 will be starting? X?
Just something simple. I think you're trying to take some of the traffic away from calls to you as to what's happening and all that.
Right, I often get calls, well, there are major construction vehicles coming by my house, there's dust blowing onto my, into my front yard, there's noise at this hour and this hour, what's going on here? So I get these calls in regard to other developments.
Okay.
So I think, it's something important to think about.
What if we
Well,
did?
I would tell you very simply, just channel them to us.
Yeah, but you could put something
We
simple like Phase
complete
2
with it.
is now active, and here's your contact info if you have any
All right.
questions or issues.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. I think it's a little different than what I was thinking, and I was thinking more of the lines of securing the construction site once it's active. And it's not, I don't mean fencing the entire perimeter. It's more of, if we have a 30-foot high pile of dirt that you've excavated, that there's a fence around it to keep the kids from playing on it. Or if you guys are crushing stone, all hours of the night, there's processes being used to reduce the amount of dust particles in the air that's kind of going to the other properties. So it's really just kind of protecting the people that know they're moving in there. It's an active
Right.
construction site, but protecting the public as much as possible.
Right. I mean, one of the good things we have with the site is with buffers and things, it does have some isolation to it. it's kind of impractical for, if there are piles of material that are being put here to be used or whatever, to be surrounding that and trying to protect it. You know, I'm not sure what to say. We don't seem to have, maybe because I haven't really run across many of those kinds of issues. Wherever we have in the past, we have typically, you know, used some sporadic security or something like that to sort of get people disincentivized to come by. But you know, I mean, the site is pretty good size. It's got buffers.
There's
I just
certainly
hate to
a
start
development
adding a
that's
lot of
pretty raw
stuff
in
like
everybody's
this.
mind right now that's kind of.
So you, in the O&M plan, we'll set it out a little bit more. You can include a safety plan for the storage of materials and equipment and show how you're gonna mark the site, you know, no trespassing, construction zone, you know, things like that, so that you do what you can
Right.
to keep people off, and that it's as part of the O&M plan, so you know how it's moving.
And then if, you know, we get to phase 2 and something is going on, then you have a chance to talk to us about it,
Yeah.
right?
And I think there's a lot less concern on this development of, you know, kids playing in it, because we're not expecting any kids to be living here.
You won't.
A quick question. How did that no left turn come up? Because that actually kind of conflicts with what you're thinking. If during construction, they can't take a left out of their access road, then they're going to be forced to go back out if they do want to go down that direction, so to catch 126 south. They're going to have to go back past these built units with, say, a dump truck or something. I don't know why we would have that no left.
Because it's unsafe.
Yeah, we
That was-
talked about the
that's-
sight lines and visibility.
The sight lines and turn left up that,
Did
No
it come
left
up?
out,
Did
you can take a
anybody-
left in.
Did anybody request a no left out of it?
this board,
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
No, we talked about it.
Oh, you did?
yeah.
Okay, all right. So it makes sense.
It was
I
a late
wouldn't-
night.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I think it's not necessary, but if it's there, and you guys seem to be.
Well, John, it was trying to deter traffic from the Prospect Elliott intersection.
No, that makes sense to me. And
Yeah.
I know it's not the best entrance for the front entrance, but I was just trying to provide another way for people not to have to drive past those finished houses. So.
When the traffic engineer was here, there was a big discussion about it.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
they wouldn't have to drive past the finished houses though, because you could take a left or right into the site. It's just coming out of the site. It was no left turn.
Right, that's right.
So, which makes sense to me. But if a dump truck wants to go down Elliott this way, they're gonna have to go back all the way through, take a left and a left. So I'm just saying, we're trying to keep the construction in the site and not from driving back out through finished phase 1. It's the only way they do it. They have to take a left. So, it's all right. It's not that big of a deal.
I see what you're saying. Good. Okay, yeah. So, number 4, the one that said the existing residential structure on OSA 1 shall be deeded to the town of Ashland.
Right,
And I thought we had discussed last meeting that it was leaning towards the Concom. I don't know if that's still the feeling. I thought the Board of Selectmen had also discussed that prior, that it was, you know, the Concom had talked about, they supported it. The BOS, the meeting I watched had supported it, and I thought this board supported it, so I'm still in support. I haven't heard otherwise, but I don't know what the rest of the board feels.
I talked to the town manager this morning. The Board of Selectmen has, and I think the chair is here. I think that the Board of Selectmen has not voted one way or the other about that parcel.
The Board of Selectmen has voted, and it's part of the public record. Board of Selectmen voted 5-0 to accept the property. At that time, the property was presented as a singular property. It was later that parcel with the house was severed, and it was severed, if I understand correctly, so that the house could be transferred before the end of the construction, so the house wouldn't sit idle. And that was the purpose for that, not to transfer it to another government agency. The board has voted on that. It voted 5-0 on that. The chair is here, and he can corroborate what I'm saying. I am Carl Atkinson, 346 Chestnut Street, member of the Board of Selectmen. So I respectfully disagree with Town Council with regard to that interpretation. That may be what the town manager suggested, but that's not what the Board of Selectmen voted.
for Concom.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're comfortable with
Okay.
COMCOM. Vanessa?
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you. I will flip over to number 10. Actually, all right, let's stop at number 10. So I know I was the voice that was in favor of bringing a walkway down to Chestnut Street. After, I don't think it's a bad thing to have. I don't think it's necessary after driving by the site again as to where it actually comes out compared to where I thought it came out. I thought it came out right at the parking lot area of the Warren Fields. It actually is a little further down from that parking area. I think it's a good idea to eventually get sidewalks out there along that whole strip anyway, but I guess I can go either way on it at this point as opposed to before when I was pretty set on having a sidewalk that led into that parking area and the tennis court area, thinking more people would be crossing at that point.
Can I just give a little refresher for a second?
Sure.
So the refresher here is that in lieu of building sidewalks, you know, the money, as you see below, would be given out proportional to the square footage of sidewalks constructed. You know, hence, you know, your need to discuss how much of a sidewalk system you want constructed.
So it looks like the sidewalk that we're debating about, and the amount of money that we're debating about is just under $10,000.
Correct.
If I'm reading the decision correctly.
The full amount.
Not the full amount, but the amount that
Oh,
we're
right.
debating over whether or not they build. So the difference in income to the town is, you know, $9,625. Yeah.
The actual, maybe one of you guys can confirm, the actual sidewalk that we're talking about, where does it pick up along Lantern Way? Is it from the clubhouse all the way down to
Yeah.
the end of Lantern?
And you have a map in your binders.
So yeah, it would be map C2, and it would be,
Actually, got this.
you can see it on that one as well.
Got C1 in your binders too. Right in.
I like
C2 has it also.
C2 has it.
We had looked at this last meeting. You guys may remember.
Yeah.
But it's, what we're talking about is this section of sidewalk here. This is all phase one. The yellow we have to build no matter what. It's part of the clubhouse and that circulation system. This one I think is sort of in the same pot with everything else, and it's really this section from here down to Chestnut that we're talking about, and that's the difference between the two numbers that you had on the draft.
My perspective is, this includes the sidewalk from Drive 1 to Drive 3, if you're looking at the C2 plan, as well as from Drive 3 up maybe about a third of the way to Drive 4, where it looks like there would then be a crosswalk across to the clubhouse. I would think that, considering that everybody who's coming into this development is going to be using Lantern Way, that especially for the residents who live on Drive 1 and Drive 3, that I would want to see the sidewalk go at least down to Drive 1. The only part of the sidewalk that I don't see being particularly useful would be this from Drive 1 out to Chestnut, unless and until such time as we get sidewalks on Chestnut.
John, any comments?
I don't know. I kind of like the original design where they were showing a consistent feel throughout the development, and the way it's laid out, I don't think there's going to be high-speed traffic as far as that goes. And I can see where Preston says, I just don't feel that strongly towards that. I think something like this where I don't see that a real major tangible advantage, I would think that I'd rather defer to the way it was designed. and there would be no sidewalks.
Are those, did you say those other red sidewalks are maintained in the plan, or are those also mitigated in this proposal?
No, I was just trying to give you the difference in the dollar amount.
Yep.
So the 4,000 relates to this section,
Okay.
and the 9,000 whatever relates to that section.
But those red dots are also, you're proposing those all come out? Those sidewalks won't be there?
Red dots.
The red lines.
The dashes.
Right there.
These?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would-
Phase 2 portion of the sidewalk.
So just to Preston, because I would, you know, you were saying connect 1 to 3, and that would make sense if we were maintaining 4, 5, 8, and 9. But since they're all being proposed as potential mitigation, I wouldn't just put it in one section. It would either be an all or nothing type of thing. Like I said, I'm fine with not having it at this point, and someday if we have sidewalks on Chestnut, to connect at that point.
I was torn initially. I was kind of leaning towards having some sort of sidewalk, but in looking at it holistically, I agree that we should go back to the original plan of not having anything, because I think for me it would just be a little bit disjointed. It doesn't really make sense to have it in some areas and then not in other areas. I think it would just be better to go back to the original plan and not have any sidewalks at all, because they'll also have that extra, I don't know what it's called, a barrier, or just like it'll be a little bit wider, and it'll be inconsistent with some of the other plans that you have in your other developments, right? Yeah.
The roads we're talking about are 4 feet wider than the roads we're building.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Preston, you comfortable with that?
I'm still a bit nervous with the residents from Drive 1, when you've got everybody else coming in through there. That's a good number of cars. And if they're wanting to walk to the clubhouse, I'd like them to be off the street. I realize the people on Drive 2, there's no sidewalk on that side, so it's kind of I don't know.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I'm of the feeling it's an all or nothing thing, so if we're leaning towards not having anything out to Chestnut, I would say we probably, I would vote not to, so. Right.
So
I
how,
was gonna look at the
How
phasing.
do you want to deal with that? 'Cause-
I'm under the impression I'm the only one pushing for sidewalks, so I lose.
That's kind of, that's kind of,
Unless somebody else at the board is
if it was 2-2, Preston, I was gonna,
gonna say otherwise.
continue
then-
the
yeah,
discussion,
so
but
I think we're at the larger dollar figure, and my only other question about this, since is it says Complete Streets Fund. I wasn't aware that we had a Complete Streets Fund, and I think we might need to discuss a little more about where exactly this money is going.
I think we should strike that altogether. Just strike it, that's my opinion.
talking to the mic.
I think we should strike it, the whole paragraph.
The whole paragraph?
Yeah.
So,
You don't want any money?
No, I want the money.
No, the whole beginning, the whole,
Reference.
in consideration of, ending by approved by the board, just that first
Yeah,
paragraph.
you want the waiver and you want the mitigation money.
Yep. But in relation to
paid to
complete
the
streets.
town. Well, I think we would want to give direction as to where the money.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Well,
But
then
otherwise,
we'll-
it's going to go into the general.
Yeah,
We're gonna do
Yeah.
line by line right after that.
So I think we would strike complete street fund for the time being, to be placed in, and then, I'm actually, I think I seen it somewhere in here, a timeline, but it was like set by year, like 1 year, 2 year, like, it was like 2016, 2017. Did I see that somewhere, or am I making that up?
Yeah, that was a
Okay.
phasing plan.
All right, I did see that in the phasing plan.
And these payments are all triggered at the prior to commencement of that particular phase.
Yeah, I'd almost like to see all them just kind of rolled into one payment, so we can do more good with them right away. I don't know what your guys' feeling is, but kind of getting a piecemeal at each phase, not knowing if it's 4 years from now, we may be getting some of that money, kind of limits the ability we could put it to good use now. And the spirit behind the money, I'd rather see it as a lump sum, I don't know, personally.
I agree.
I mean, that's a good point, because we don't know, yeah, it could drag out, that's a good point.
The phasing it came from me, because the idea here is that the money we would have spent on those sidewalks in those phases is what would get put in at that time. And in terms of being unsure whether it comes, we can't even start the next phase without putting that money up. So, from my point of view, I think it should be on a, sort of a phase basis.
Easy payments of $12,000. Easy math. Thinking about that? What about 4 equal payments? 12,000 each?
I think the issue is what the money is to be used for. And once that's resolved, then whether it's coming in as separate payments or not becomes a clearer issue.
But they're not offering it outside of separate payments, right?
Yeah, so.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is we need to,
Can it just be conditioned on how we collect it?
Well, they're,
I mean, certainly
mean?
there's an agreement that we collect it as one payment, or if we, negotiated what the future value of $9,500 would be 4 years from now, and we got one payment up front that would subtract future value of the money.
Well, you can just, this is mitigation essentially in exchange for a waiver, so you got a lot of
I was just
latitude
commenting on
here.
yours. You said they're not offering it, but if
Oh.
it's mitigation, we could figure out what
it's a
works for us.
special permit, we can say what we want to say, if they don't
Right.
like it, they can walk, but, I mean.
yeah, we're trying to
we're
figure
not-
it, but, yeah.
We're more working with them, we're not gonna take that attitude, but.
Or they can just build sidewalks.
Theoretically, we could.
They can just build sidewalks if they want, right?
Right, or they can build sidewalks.
You got it,
Yeah.
which I would do if people were being unreasonable. So, what about, since we don't exactly have a specified use, we have pretty close to a specified use, potentially, depending on where this goes. What if we did request 4 equal amounts? Because it looks like phase 1,
Yeah, phase one's the highest.
yeah,
It's about 12,000, it's a little less than 12,000 in 4 equal payments, $44,000 total.
oh, I thought I counted 48.
I think I just,
Yeah,
I did it a
I
different
mean,
way,
I
though.
just think about, getting money in 2019. I mean, if, it's only $12,000. It's not huge money that it's going to be able to, it's money that we can put to use.
Should we put this into the planning board's sidewalk revolving account,
I don't know, but,
since it's in lieu of sidewalks?
I don't, we can get, Nat's got, do you have some direction for this?
Right.
Or,
The only thing I was going to say is if you did want to do something and make it equal, that's fine, but I kind of want to point out that we didn't think sidewalks are necessary. We could also put them in. I was trying to do something here that got the money to the town as opposed to going to the site. So I hope that would be respected as we're going through this in terms of the phase part of it.
One thing that, one initiative that we're working on right now is a form-based code, and funding to work with a renderer is certainly something to consider. Whenever the money's released, there is a form-based code initiative going on. Just something to think about as a potential place to use that money.
But if we want to do that, then we need to put in X amount to be used for that, and with figure out language so that, any surplus goes into the sidewalk fund or the general fund or however that works, and figure out exactly what we want to do.
Do you got any ideas?
Yeah, so I was trying to think of some. I wrote down a couple of ideas, and certainly if you guys have any more, some things that I was thinking that potential mitigation could be used for, right? So I actually have, my first one on here was additional sidewalks, so whether that be the sidewalk fund or sidewalks on Chestnut or Elliott. form-based code, knowing that we're trying to finish that, and that needs help getting that over the hump. I think that's really important to the planning board to see through. Maybe an immediate need for the planning board. Complete streets was mentioned as a upcoming, and it was mentioned in here, so I had that written down. The Greenway, right? So we're looking to continue to keep the momentum with the Greenway throughout Ashland. I think it's something good for the entire community. So that was something I was thinking. And then I was thinking of maybe some kind of immediate positive in the area as well, whether it be connecting more to Warren Woods or whatever. So those are kind of some of the things I had originally written down. I don't know what your...
One thing I thought of was, you've got a walking path coming out of the development. It goes past the house, essentially. So this is a driveway, so therefore there's already a cut in the stone wall. But right across the road, there's no way to get directly into Warren Woods, right? As I know right now, I don't think, unless anybody else knows. Yeah, could you let everybody know? Thanks, Carl. Because I was thinking potentially striping a sidewalk crossing there.
Well, that would be up to someone other than me to make the decision. But there is a little bit of an angle that comes out of the sidewalk at 22 Elliott Street, and there is a break in the stone wall there.
Nice.
Right
Okay.
now, there's a telephone pole that connects the break
Okay.
to keep people from driving in there.
Okay.
But that's where the path is going to come from Warren Woods.
So we could potentially just have the road striped right there, denoting
we could,
crossing,
yes.
right?
While I'm up here, can I ask a question, because I'm a little bit, I may have been outside when you discussed this, but when you were talking about sightline mitigation, I'm on the Land Stewardship Committee and the Conservation Commission, and if it will be our charge to maintain the open space area there, as we have at Warren Woods. And what we anticipate, and I believe what the board anticipates as part of the mitigation, is clearing the sight line at the intersection of Elliott Street and Chestnut Street. We think that's important that that is done sooner than later in this development, but we also believe that that will be our responsibility and not the responsibility of the condominium association, because that's something that we have ongoing across the street with the stone wall area there and along the roadway, and on the other side of that intersection where Chestnut and Elliott is on the Warren Woods side. We keep that clear, and we have a plan to keep it clear. So what I would suggest, if it were acceptable to the board and to the applicants, is that there maybe be an escrow account set aside for the Conservation Commission. We have a pretty good idea of what that costs for the original clearing. The original clearing is the expensive one. The maintenance is relatively inexpensive. The maintenance we do ourselves. Some of the original clearing we do ourselves, and some of it is so invasive and so embedded that we need to hire contractors to take it out. So that
Maybe, just if I could clarify, the condition in the special permit has to do with the entranceway at the entranceway on Lantern Drive.
Okay, then I did misunderstand.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with this. It
Okay.
all has to do with the entranceway.
Is there a condition that has to do?
No, because this is going to be the town-owned land, and it would go to the Conservation Commission's responsibility. The condominium association is going to be responsible for this.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's
I
interesting,
would-
Carl, while you're up there, so you make that point, and I have a note on my thing, and we were kind of taking them in order. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you may be talking about something similar. I was thinking about, in the traffic study, we had talked about potential ways to slow down traffic, make it safer in the area, and the person with the traffic study had talked about clearing some of the undergrowth and the brush and bringing it back. And I was actually hoping to see that as a condition by itself, that before the land was going to be deeded over, that brush would be cleared back. And I don't know if that's, it sounds like you're talking about setting up an escrow, but I was thinking on OSA 2 that all that underbrush and overgrowth would be cleared, like we talked about during the traffic study to help mitigate.
That's how I remember it too, Mr. Chair. And we would be willing to supervise that because we have the experience of doing that and we have the connections with the contractors to do that, if it were acceptable to the applicants and to the board. Because that really, from my perspective, that is the major traffic mitigation, is that corner of Elliott and Chestnut. Because right now, coming down Elliott, you can't see looking north on Chestnut Street until you get into that intersection because of the overgrowth. You can see looking the other way. You couldn't see looking the other way before we cleared that out once we started to rehabilitate Warren Woods.
So, to be clear, what you're looking for is prior to the property being turned over, that the underbrush be cleared along Chestnut Street?
Not the whole way, but at least to the.
So, yeah, well, I was thinking per the traffic study the whole way, but if the applicant is more comfortable kind of, putting it in an escrow and kind of having the COMCOM take it afterwards so they don't have to worry about that, I can go either way, but I just remember we had talked about it and I had it written down as something I wanted to further discussion on.
So what I'm trying to understand, I think what the traffic study was talking about might be something different than what Carl is talking about. So, Carl, could you just show me where on there you're talking about, just because I want to make sure I'm clear on it?
This is the intersection of Chestnut Street and Elliott Street.
Yeah.
And this is where 22 Elliott Street is. From here, and from here to here, there are trees.
Right.
But those trees are covered with bittersweet and other invasive plants that in the summertime, when they blossom, block the view. If someone's coming into this intersection, you can't see who's coming this way.
Okay.
And conversely, if you're coming this way, you can't see who's coming this way.
Right.
And we would be willing to take care of that. It was the same issue on this side of the street when we took over the stewardship of Warren Woods.
Right.
And this was all removed.
Well, I have two. So I understand what Carl is saying, because on the other side, it's kind of, you've actually cleared it, so you can see right through to the grass and everything.
Working this way.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I think that my interpretation of what the traffic guy was talking about was clearing the growth that had started to encroach on the street back, so the street felt like it was more open. That was my interpretation of what he said. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is, I personally would feel better if that process were done after we finish the drainage basin, because here's what once we're doing that, the field becomes brown because dirt's moving around and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just more visible to everybody that is going by. So I would prefer to see that be done a little bit later. Nobody cares?
I don't have a problem with that, David. I think if we could get it, that's why I suggested an escrow so that it could be done at the appropriate time.
Okay.
If we could agree that it was a mitigation to the traffic issue here.
Yeah, when somebody else had brought this issue up to me at one point, and the traffic guy didn't comment on it, so I didn't think it was continuing, but it was more right in the area of the intersection there as opposed to extending all the way up.
Well, it would depend on where we could agree on, obviously. The further back that you can see,
Right.
the safer the intersection
Yeah,
is.
okay.
But that's something that we could work on. I think because we have done all of this, and some of it we did with the stewardship committee, and some we did with contractors, because it was too embedded.
Yeah.
We have an idea of who the contractors are that
Mhm.
could do it and what it would cost.
Okay. Do you have a sense what that amount is by any chance?
I would say in the neighborhood of $15,000.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, okay. Well, look, there's one item that the approval is silent on, and I know we're gonna deal with it when we get to the easement part, and that is I think the Concom was going to continue the mowing of the paths.
Yes.
So if we could all be in agreement that would find its way into the easement, that would, we establish it, but then that would be maintained as a mow, then I think I could live with something 15 to be applied towards that project, and we could work with the the Concom? Is that who we work with?
So let me just say, for the board's perspective, the reason I don't have the obligation of the Conservation Commission to mow the paths in the land to be deeded over to the Conservation Commission is that, first of all, this board doesn't have any authority to tell the Conservation Commission what to do. And secondly, I don't want a special permit provision that gives an obligation to a town agency that then the residents, quite frankly, could go to the building inspector and say, you need to enforce this provision against the town agency since it's not the town agency special permit. So if there is to be an obligation to mow a path, then we can do it in the deed and or easement or conservation restriction, or how, not restriction, but the deed to the Conservation Commission. But I don't want it, personally, my advice is against the board putting that kind of obligation in here for the reasons I've just said.
But setting up the, so that the underbrush that we've been discussing does get cleared.
That's okay.
That should go in.
That's okay, yes,
Right.
because so if we work this out, we certainly can do that, because I was just looking back, the open space parcels aren't supposed to be deeded over, except for the residential one, until on or before the conveyance of the first dwelling unit. So that gives, you're gonna have done your excavation inside, and that's plenty of time to get to work with everybody to get whatever done you want to have done around the parcel, to get the clearing around Chestnut and Elliott Street. So yes, we can add whatever mitigation the board decides to do with this, whether it's to put the money in escrow or require the applicant to work with the Conservation Commission or the Land Steward Committee to clear those areas.
I
So-
think whatever way council thinks is best is
Yeah.
agreeable.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to be clear that what Mr. Caligaris and I are talking about is a one-time removal. And then subsequent to that, this land will be the care and custody of the town. And so we will be taking care of that as part of our charge, as well as, and we have agreed on, because again, it will be part of our area, the obligation of mowing the path that they're talking about.
So I think that's very much in line with what I was suggesting, other than the escrow part. I was thinking a one-time deal. Now, do you mind if the ComCom's the one who does it with the contractor, or would you prefer to do it before you deeded it over?
No, I don't have a problem
With
on
your
the
own
timing.
contract.
What I would prefer to, I have no problem putting the money into an account that
Okay.
the Conservation Commission, the Warren Woods Group, whoever wants to oversee it, because I would like them to oversee it so they do it the way they would like to do it.
Okay.
So that's number one. And I have also no problem trusting everyone's memory when we get to the time of easements and real estate transactions that we've talked about this, so it's no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
So is it the desire of the board to have, at the time of the transfer of the property to the Conservation Commission, to have a $15,000 escrow account established for the purposes of allowing the Conservation Commission to remove the underbrush in the area of the intersection of Elliott and Chestnut Street, so as to aid in the sight lines in that area?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, and I won't take up too much more of your time, but I would like to clarify a little bit for maybe some of the people that are watching this at home that have no idea what we're talking about with regard to this transfer of property. The vote that I mentioned of the Board of Selectmen came subsequent to a vote by the Conservation Commission and to accept the gift of land. And that, why we think that this is important is because the Green Company came before town meeting last spring looking for a zoning change. And Mr. Efron gave a presentation to the town about this development. And at that time, there was no A&R. And the language, the A&R around the house. At that time, the language that was used in the presentation said that all space, all the open space, including the 4-H house, would go to the town for conservation purposes in perpetuity. And they were referring to that particular plan that then the Conservation Commission voted on and the Board of Selectmen voted on. Subsequently, we've had this A&R, and we've explained the purpose for the A&R is in the best interest of the house being taken care of while they begin the project. But we thought it was important that all of our votes be consistent with the presentation that was done at town meeting. The term conservation purposes has a legal connotation, and it implies care and custody of the Conservation Commission, and it invokes Article 97 protection for that property. That would not be true if it were transferred to another government agency. So that's just a little clarification on the previous explanation. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carl. All right. So back to, take that one off my list.
So we're back to 11.
Back
I
to
think,
the
or
back
10.
to 11, right?
10. Sorry, 10.
As far as the mitigation goes, I guess I'll make a suggestion to the board, and if we're for it, or you're gonna want to switch around some stuff, we can maintain the phasing. I would like, a priority for the board has been to wrap up the form-based code. I would like to, use the phase 1 mitigation money for that, and then say, I don't think it's gonna be that much, I think it'll be much less, and then have anything not used by the time of town meeting, or whatever language you wanna put in it, go into the sidewalk fund, right, so the remainder would transfer into the sidewalk fund.
So this is for phase 1?
Would be for the phase 1 mitigation. Phase 2, depending on the timing, maybe, we just left another meeting where we've been trying to get the downtown signage project moving again. So I would look to maybe give phase 2 to the downtown signage collaborative, just a suggestion. Phase 3, I would suggest maybe the Greenway, if they're up and running by that time.
What do you mean by Greenway? Downtown Green?
The Upper Charles Trail?
Yeah, Upper Charles, whatever we're calling it now, Preston. I'm putting that in there for you to try and get your vote.
Nice.
Thank you.
No, I think it's a good thing for the town, and I think there's gonna be a time when they're gonna be looking for some money to keep it going.
So that's the Upper River Charles?
The Upper
Charles
Charles
River
Tra-
Rail Trail?
Yeah.
Or just trail?
Just the Upper Charles Trail. Sufficient.
And then, the last one, I would say, let's, complete streets. I am a believer in complete streets. I'd like to see something go in towards helping it. I know it's a small dent in the overall scheme of what it would take, but it's something.
Mr. Chair, so at the end of each one of these, do you want a time frame? So if the phasing 1 starts by the subsequent town meeting, so like you get a year and a half or a year or whatever, the money goes into the sidewalk fund, or it stays with that particular thing? So the first one you said the form-based zoning, but then if there's any money left, you want before the town meeting?
All the other ones would stay with the
Stay with that particular
Yeah, it was
thing.
just the
Okay.
first one.
I'd say any money not spent within 1 year of receiving the money
Sidewalk.
should go to the sidewalk fund.
Okay, all right.
So we have 1 year to spend the money as needed on form-based code.
That's good, I like that.
So that's a reasonable amount of
Yeah.
time. And
Ricky?
any surplus would roll
Any
into the sidewalk
edits or
fund.
concerns, or do we round the numbers off?
The trigger on each one of these, or the deadline of when the payment is released, is based on, what was the wording we were using? Was it the issuance of occupancy permit?
It's
or
a
was release
commencement
lot?
of construction of any dwelling in each,
There we go.
so
Okay.
it's the commencement
Yep.
of construction.
Prior to the commencement of construction, okay, I like
So
that.
we could clarify that and say issuance of a building permit. Because you could get a building
Yeah.
permit, but
Yep.
then not commence
You got it.
construction for a year.
I like that. And that's a pretty clear trigger for them too. So in the first one is phase one, which is 13,625, correct? It's kind of there's two numbers and one smaller.
Yeah, the smaller was if we kept all the sidewalk.
Got it. Just making sure. So 13,625, you're saying form-based code. Phase two is 8875. You're saying downtown signage.
I'd love to round all these off.
Downtown signage, correct?
Like a pet peeve of mine.
On number two?
Can you round them off to 11,000 a year?
You could do that.
11,000 a year?
There we go. Yeah, that's actually easier math, okay.
We didn't like you to lump it up front, but you certainly could divide it by 4.
Nice.
Nice. So
I
11,000.
think that actually hurts us making it 11,000.
That does hurt us.
Yeah, but not by much. All right. So one, this is easy math for these guys. So phase one, 11,000, form-based code. Sound right?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, also 11,000, downtown signage. Number three, 11,000, Upper Charles Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Number four, do we have something for number four?
Complete street funds is what.
I suggest a complete street.
I feel like that's a slush
I
fund.
would say put it into,
Slush fund.
put it into the sidewalk fund, because any complete street project is
Sidewalks.
likely to include sidewalks, so we could spend it on a complete street project. I have trouble seeing a complete street project that wouldn't include sidewalks.
Wouldn't be complete.
I'm fine with that, if that's the feeling of the board.
And it's
Like I
a
said,
existing,
Would they be able to use,
It's
how would we allocate that money to a complete street project? Would they have to come approach the board?
DPW would say, we want to build this, and can we have X amount of money, and the planning board votes it.
Okay,
It's a revolving account that we control,
okay.
that's established by town meeting.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, you guys, any other suggestions?
I think that sounds great.
Do we, you still want a crosswalk striped?
I mean, that could have been part of the.
Striping a crosswalk is so little money, we just ask DPW to do it, I mean,
All right.
as part of their annual painting.
All right. You mentioned index trees, I just wrote it down. Did you guys have any strong feelings on indexing of trees?
It's already done it.
I don't think we're gonna have a problem with these guys.
There's some of it in there already.
Any occupancy permit conditions?
I think they're satisfied here.
Good. You guys satisfied with the timeline?
Yeah.
Okay. Check that one off. Checking a lot of boxes off. You guys have any?
I've said mine throughout the entire process.
All right. Right. Do we have to close?
No,
We got left.
so we're meeting again next week, right? So I'll make all these changes and then, you can close the public hearing portion of this if you want. I don't think you're expecting any more information, right? So you can close that and then I can keep working on this until next week.
Close the public hearing and then see the amended
Yeah.
conditions and,
We have 90 days from the date of the close of the public hearing to issue a decision.
all right.
You only missed one.
Has Max missed another meeting? So if he watches this tape, can he vote, or is this his second?
No, I think Max, this is the only meeting that Max
Yeah.
will have missed.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah, so he can vote next week
So he
then.
can vote next week.
Yeah, he can watch and
Good.
vote.
So this is just the SRC, right? All right, so, we good?
Yeah.
I move to close the public hearing on the SRC.
Second.
I wanted to do that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's closed, public hearing closed.
All right. And we'll draft conditions as amended and hopefully take a vote if all looks well next,
12th.
on the 12th. All right.
At what time?
We have the conditions. We should
Defer
vote
to
right now, no?
the planning board
Confirm the conditions.
director. Assistant.
Can we vote these conditions now? I mean, we can just,
I think there's
Yeah,
some,
we usually
given some of the changes, particularly the intricacies around the clearing and escrow and all of that, I'd like to have a final draft to you before you vote the conditions, if that's
Yeah.
all right?
all right.
It's a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
And I'll let Max vote.
Let's put it at 7:15 and, you know,
Fabulous.
they schedule at 7:15.
Is that separate from the scenic road one?
So you should
The
do a
12th?
hearing, have a hearing.
What do we got for time, the 12th?
Okay.
Since it's no longer a public hearing, we don't have to continue to a specific time. We're not-
Well,
not
what
at
time's the,
this point.
right, so what time's the meeting start
So the
next
meeting
week?
starts 7:15, it will start at 7:15.
So just schedule for 7:15 and then we'll
And- Yeah,
see what happens.
Okay.
The 12th?
Yeah.
Well,
Now, we got a couple things on the agenda. We're just trying to figure out where it fits
yeah.
into the 12th.
Do you want me to move that we
But I'm
continue?
saying it
But
can.
the public hearing's
I'm
closed,
saying it can
right.
be moved around.
Right.
If need be, we'll
Without-
shift, okay.
Right, so if you just say next week at 7:15, then.
But it's still
All right.
technically.
Yeah.
I move we move the public hearing to November 12th, 7:15 PM.
Yep. It's not a public hearing anymore.
No,
The
public
discussion's
discussion.
about the
The
conditions.
discussion, okay, the discussion about the conditions to November 12th, 7:15 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Do we have a second document for the, is there a second site plan review document, or is it all tied into the
It's gonna
special
be
permit?
tied into this. The site plan review references that you've met all the conditions of that, and
Vote
I'll
on
do
the,
a vote at
special
the end
permits
that
anyway,
addresses
on the
site
12th.
plan review.
Okay.
And then we have the two other, which I haven't done yet, the two.
We did the
Scenic road
scenic
special
road
permits, I have not drafted
here and
yet.
the scenic road for here.
Okay.
So all we have now is, does it require a separate vote?
just took.
Dudley call both votes.
Dudley, and who seconded?
Lisa, does
I second.
it call for, do we have to vote 2 votes next
Do the
time? One
minutes
for
too.
site plan, one for special
Yeah,
permit?
I'm gonna have you do two,
We
just
do?
to
Okay.
wrap it all up.
Okay.
We are.
Yes.
Sorry.
And we still have one scenic road thing that has to be redone?
Yes.
That's my understanding?
Right, so we have that fully advertised for next week.
Right, so we can't do that tonight because of advertising issues.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Bills?
Now, we do have some minutes.
We do have minutes.
Before we close, I'd just like to clear some of the minutes off the backlog and then hopefully get everybody, it's already 10 o'clock there.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Lisa, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, hang
Bye,
on.
Lisa, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Just briefing. The concerns.
Are the meetings in the binder? Or the minutes?
Minutes?
Yes, in the front.
In the front. Okay. So you're looking at September 24th? We're going back a ways, but we've been busy.
Ah, the old Needham Bank mitigation funds. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
How are those, how's the investment going there? Back into the community? All right, no, I'm just kidding. There's no place for humor up here.
No.
Or sarcasm. Just doesn't come through on TV.
It's like when you email or write a text.
Right, the
Gotta be
jokes just
careful.
fall flat. Those
Yep.
emoticons don't do it for you?
Yep. Emojis.
It's a minor detail, but
Yes.
on line 20,
Line 20.
just as Mr. Moki asked if this agreement could be changed in the future, I just would like to make it specific to talk to mention the conversation was around a second egress or exit from the rail transit district.
What would you like the wording to be?
I don't know. It's so long ago, I can't remember exactly how I said it. I'm sure it was perfect. It's probably gold back then. But just because we call out specifically how John talked about, designating the use of the property. I think the other big topic that was discussed was a second way in and out of the rail transit district.
Okay, so I will incorporate that thought into this.
That's all. Yep.
Okay, all right, hold, at this point.
Yep.
Okay, hold on just a sec.
Just somewhere in there.
So a second way out, in and out of the RTD.
I had one recommendation along that same lines. Something like, Mr. Dudley strongly recommended the option for the town to sell the parcel if it so desired.
You want me to put that in?
Absolutely.
You got
I
it?
did. I mean, that was my main comment.
Okay. All right, hold on.
Yep.
We want our voice to be spelled out in the minutes.
Which fell on deaf ears.
Wait, hold on. What? Mr. Dudley wanted, what's he say? Say that again?
Mr. Dudley
wanted to sell the land.
Strongly recommended
Strongly recommended
the option
the option
for the town
for the town
to sell the parcel
to sell the parcel
if it so desired.
if it so desired.
Or I should say that, strongly recommend that the town include the option
Include the option.
Okay, all right, hold on.
to sell
Town
the parcel if it so
include
desired.
the option to sell. You got it.
You can write, Mike Mulkey strongly recommended a second way out of the rail transit district.
You did, that was
I
strong.
know.
That was strong.
It was strong.
Mike Moki.
Come on, it's 10 o'clock.
Emphatically recommended.
All
It's
right.
10 o'clock if you can't have fun.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 24th?
As amended, so moved.
All in favor?
Nobody seconded.
Second?
I saw your lips move.
Oh,
You want a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
who seconded that?
Vanessa.
I seconded.
Yep.
She sneezed.
Technically, because I was yawning.
I thought I heard it.
Okay, sounds good.
As amended.
On this Olive Street parcel, did you by any chance, was there any follow-up? Remember us talking about that, Mike? Did that go anywhere?
Yeah, I did talk to the planning board, the planning director,
Yeah.
right? We talked about it, but I don't.
This made me think of this, this particular lot, all I was advised is if it gets to the point where they're actually gonna develop something, someone's gotta confirm that actual sight line. That engineer, cause I was driving down that street and I said, there's no way that's 300 feet.
John, you expressed that at the previous meeting, didn't you?
I did.
He did.
Mike,
we
you
prob-
did?
He was
yeah,
hit- he
I
was
did.
Oh,
questioning
then
the
it's worth
sight line.
incorporating that in here, isn't it?
It is. I thought I was looking to see if it was in here.
All right, so what wording? So
Mr. Moki expressed concerns with the sight lines.
expressed concerns.
So it says
That'd be
here,
accurate.
concerns were also expressed regarding the capacity of the locust to accommodate large rain events in line of sight. So I think those are,
Mr. Moki shared these concerns? I mean, I guess you were the one.
yeah.
All right, so I'll credit this to you.
You got it in there.
Please
yeah?
do.
Yeah.
All right. And I think you, John, you had talked about the orientation of the property being uphill.
Yeah, it's the same issue we have on this 466 Chestnut on Elliott, where you have some significant elevation changes, so therefore it does. What I liked about it was, I don't want to mislead an applicant to go spend a bunch of money with a project that they believe could go through, and then we hit them with a whammy. I'd rather, sure, they know, the minute they come for an application, say, hey, wait a second. Because that was just completely preliminary, they were just feeling us out, but we went by what the engineer put in front of us, and never was anything related to a pretty steep drop in the road mentioned, so I just figured, it would be nice to,
Orientation of property uphill.
yeah, either be prepared or maybe get the word out to them,
Sure.
so,
And I'll incorporate that in these minutes.
sure.
Okay?
Good, yep. Line 15 of the minutes, did you see that? Page 2.
Yeah. Yep, it was there. We got it. It's good, we were consistent.
Yep.
So, do you need a motion?
Most of the plants
I move to approve the minutes of October 8th. As amended?
As amended.
I second. Sneak one in there. Sorry, I'll get you after. Get the next one.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. October 22.
You should spend some money on that one, huh? Just mess with him. President's always got his name in all of them. Century is solar.
Yeah, you weren't here for this meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna butter on that one anyways, but it's a nice use for that property.
Yeah, putting a trail through there is a nice use.
Is there, did they do anything? Did they maintain it?
They're giving us an
Great.
easement.
There you go.
And they're gonna stop dumping Natick Mall snow.
Come on.
Good. We got that. The emphasize the traffic pattern. We talked a lot about that.
You know, the regulatory requirement is just the vote, you know. That's all you really have to put in the minutes. Just so you know.
We got spoiled over the years.
Yeah, you do. You do get spoiled.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. My pleasure.
So we got these guys at 7:45 next week.
Yeah, we'll shuffle
Okay, no,
a bit.
it seems like, I don't think we
I
have
think we
much
can
left.
fit that, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
They should
fine.
be able to get them both in.
Yep. Should be pretty
And
good.
if we had to start at 7, I'm willing to start at 7.
Yeah.
No, that'll work.
Vanessa, you think you might be back, or we'll see?
I should be getting back early in the day. so
Okay,
I should be
all
back
right.
here in time.
I think,
Might even be able to get through the special permits fairly quickly on that. I think some of those are simpler. To make the rest of the process a little simpler.
Yeah.
Of those. But,
Yeah, shouldn't be long.
So no changes to October 22nd. I'll move to approve the minutes of October 22nd as printed.
Second.
hold on, just was looking to see, did we capture anything about wanting to see the trails through the RTD? Right, didn't we?
I know that I know progress has been made there. I don't
Okay.
know.
So it may not be
We
necessary.
can capture that at the next meeting.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 One more thing before we go, just briefly. There is $20,181 in the sidewalk fund right now.
Get out of here.
Awesome.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was more than that.
It's been used.
No.
I did my research and I haven't been able to confirm that any money was taken out.
Do you know who has the authority to spend that fund by any chance?
You do.
We do? Do you, too? Or is it always?
I don't-
It has
It's
to be
you.
voted by the board.
And the reason that you got that power was because town meeting took that vote. Preston taught me.
Yeah.
Okay, for the establishment of that fund?
Yes, every summer, every time at Springtown meeting, there's an article for the creation, which is actually the recreation of various revolving accounts, and
Okay.
the sidewalk fund is one of those, and some developer a number of years ago put something into it, and we have never spent it.
And there's no other group that could spend that?
No,
Okay.
the DPW, the selectmen, the town manager, they cannot spend that money without coming and saying, we'd like to spend this money.
And it truly is its own actual bank account revolving fund?
It's in the revolving fund.
It's not merged with other
The
funds?
town treasurer
Okay.
will not release those, should not release those funds
All right.
without a vote from the
That's
planning
good.
board.
For the record.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt, for following up on that.
Sure.
The other thing of note that I just wanted to mention was, for the 12th, if we can have an update on the conservation, not
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive plan, sorry, it's late. The comprehensive plan, I know it's been going well. I think it's, the time with the consultant is wrapping up and we're making some progress, and I just kind of want to start to talk about, what do we do when the consultant's done and our end date and kind of what the next steps are, so.
Yeah, we did have a meeting this Monday with just the members of the board and, or the committee group. And we were specifically talking about the areas that the consultant isn't helping with. So we were going over some of the priorities on those and trying to get at least something down. for
So
where
if
we
you,
are
if you
now.
can provide an update on those types of things as well,
Yeah.
and say what the direction is and what we're looking for. What I don't want to do is, I would like to see it kind of wrapped up and not go down a bunch of different rabbit holes, but kind of have a product that we can start to produce and print and get out in the public's hands, and that we don't, necessarily spend another year trying to solve little things that may not be pertinent to the main plan, but if they are important, that we, as the board, have the option to say, all right, let's focus on wrapping just that section up, between you being you chairing it and working with Nat or not. So I just kind of want to hear those things.
Probably what we should do is, we're planning on presenting at the December 7th public forum as much of this as we can to the public of as everything we have,
Okay.
and getting feedback on that. Probably as we're getting ready to do that, we should provide the planning board with that documentation early for the planning board to also review. And feedback from the planning board on that would be excellent.
Great, yeah. Thanks. Anything else?
Can I get up there for a couple seconds?
You sure can, Mark.
I'll make it quick.
Since you,
because
I didn't know you were waiting to talk. Sorry, I would have let you up
Yes.
before our public.
And the first earlier meeting, I didn't get a chance to because there was something there to talk about. Okay, Mark Sony, 49 Hawthorne Road, and good evening, and it's not that bad. Mr. Nate, you tried to bring up the form design, but they said to keep it for next downtown summit meeting, which has no date yet. I want to know what's the progress is right now.
About the form-based code?
Yes.
So, what you just said, were you referring to a happenstance that took place in this meeting? Or we
That's
just-
at the downtown
The
summit,
one
is it
earlier
that,
in the evening.
Oh, the one earlier, the one earlier.
yeah.
Okay, so, I am on the cusp of receiving final renderings from our renderer for Ashland Downtown District A and Ashland Downtown District B. I'm going to finalize those renderings. I'm going to create a table that goes under them, that talks about form-based code elements and also use elements. And then it's time to bring it before the planning board and other people who are interested and show them what we have. And the intent is to bring it to Springtown meeting.
Okay, as a interested party, and I know that you said when it comes, maybe not in November, not this month, but before town meeting, it might come up again, which you just explained. Okay. There is a town meeting November 17th. Does this board have any warrant articles in it?
No. And the reason being, when you're putting, when you're putting together a warrant article or you're putting together a policy, you don't want it to be half-baked. You want it fully thought through, and you want to take the appropriate time to put it together before you bring it to town meeting. And, we're not ready yet.
Okay, and what brought up here doing the 466 here was complete street list is, that's, I think, if I remember, right, that might be a selectman thing they brought up to talk about, but they never talked to you.
Well, I think the planning board and the selectmen had a joint meeting where each of the bodies together voted into effect a complete streets policy.
And yet it didn't put mitigation monies up for that, for the 466, which means you're not sure if you want to have it on your boards or not. As part of the conditions sort of thing, mitigations. To talk about on any other development that
We
comes
can
up.
support it through the sidewalk fund.
Yes.
There you go.
And other than that, let's have a good night. It's almost
All right,
over.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Motion?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So at 11, or 10, 10:17. What time is it, Mark?